Zero, good night. Good night, Trinidad and Tobago. Natuc chats once more with the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and in particularly the working class, members of the depressed communities, our women folks, yes, our women folk, our children, our youths, our elders. They are all important to whatever we do within our society. And we must never forget that our youths, they are our future, and therefore we must pay particular attention to their needs. Also the elders who would have helped build our society. And more importantly, the women who are the existence of life and who brings forth life into this world. And therefore the respect for these women, the elders, the youths, the working class is so critical as we build our momentum for Labor Day, June the 19th. And I will want to, engage you all in some discussions, just throw out some ideas, because our intentions is not to force a process into your mind. It's to raise issues so that you can think for yourselves and come to your own conclusion. Because that is the only way we learn. Because knowledge is power. But knowledge in the hands of someone who does not use that knowledge for the betterment of the whole society is not knowledge. So therefore, let us start to have that kind of conversation. The first question that I will want to ask is, are you satisfied with what is happening within our society? And I'm almost certain it will be a resounding no. And I will ask the question, have you given up as a society, as a people, as a citizen of this beloved country? And from the feel on the ground floor, there's a level of frustration, there's a level of indifference, and people are beginning to accept as normal the abnormal things that is happening in our beloved country. And therefore I want to debunk that. I want to say tonight that it is our responsibility as individuals and collectively to make that change. That change only comes about through us and no one else. We have to mirror the change, we have to be the change agents, and we have to do what is necessary to bring about the changes that we want within our community, we want within Trinidad and Tobago, we want within the workplace, within the judiciary, within the industrial court, within any institution of Trinidad and Tobago. We cannot continue in this revolving door of a 5-year situation where our democracy is only understood every 5 years, or as the local government is coming up in August. That cannot be democracy, brothers and sisters. Democracy is a day-to-day affair. Democracy is about me and you. Democracy is about the people. Democracy is about fairness. Democracy is about justice. Democracy is about those who we elect to serve us. And let me repeat it, those who we elect to serve us must be up to the task and must serve us in a genuine way. We cannot continue to be going to the polls, voting parties on the basis of ethnicity or of race, and then expect changes. We have to hold the politicians, we have to hold all the institutions to a task that speaks to a principle of decency, a principle of respect, a principle of humility, a principle of understanding that we the people are your employers and not the other way around. And if we have that philosophy, I dare say that the behavior of this government in the attempt to ram down the 4% on government employees would not arise. And you may ask why Michael Anisette is saying that. I am saying that because within a democracy, within a democratic process, within the question of tripartitism, within the question of social dialogue, brothers and sisters, there is an absolute need and a requirement for any government to engage in a meaningful way any worker in the workplace where any decisions that they may make will affect those workers and or the community. That is democracy, and that's a reality that we are not seeing. And it is very disturbing when one takes a deep dive into the arrogance of this government, when the conversation to really address the issue of whether the 4% is adequate or inadequate. And even a blind man will see that a 4% over a 6-year period, given the escalation in cost of living, given the devastation and the exacerbation of the society, and more so the depressed and workers, single women, as a consequence of COVID-19, would have required us to reset and rethink how we approach taking the society to another level. The society and Trinidad and Tobago cannot and must not be formulated on the basis of ideas of the politicians. It cannot be. You have to engage us as workers. You have to engage the society. You have to engage the communities. You have to empower us, all right, as a people. So that change that we want to see in the labor movement in Natuc is real changes. And we are saying in the labor movement, brothers and sisters, Trinidad and Tobago, you know what we are saying? Listen, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, you have all the powers within your hand. While the politicians and those tin gods and those elites would make it believe that their power is within their pocket and their power is within positions that they hold, maybe within the government, all right, and in other areas, and that gives them power. That is a misrepresentation of what power really is. Power is to understand that there is a principle governing power, and power is only power when it serves in a virtuous way the people that is supposed to serve. You cannot have power and be arrogant. You cannot have power and be disrespectful. You cannot have power and talk down to your women folk. You cannot have power and disregard the labor and the productivity of the labor force within your country. You cannot have power and believe that you have power, and because you have that power, you can abuse it and misuse it for your friends, for the elitist friends and your finances, and disregard totally the general population. That is not power, brothers and sisters. And as I continue to say, as I continue to articulate, my friends, Trinidad and Tobago, real power is demonstrative only by what people do. Remember that. Not what people say. What people do. The actuality of what they do and the reality becomes the principle and the pillars in which you judge people on. And as we move to the local general elections, you have to give thought to what I am saying. Are you satisfied? I'm not talking about those who are PNM until are dead or those who are UNC until are dead. I'm not talking about that kind of thinking. I am talking about an objective thinking where Trinidad and Tobago becomes first, where the people of Trinidad and Tobago becomes the primary concern. And therefore we ask ourselves if we are seeing that kind of governance. And that is what the local election is going to be all about. Don't get tied up within the rhetorics that you're going to hear. Wrong. The platforms as the election draw near. We have to sit back as workers. We have to sit back as citizens. And we have to ask ourselves some fundamental question. Where is Trinidad going? Are we satisfied? Have we lost our souls in Trinidad and Tobago? Why we have so much crime? Why we have so much guns on the streets? What is responsible for it? Why aren't we dealing with the root cause of this particular situation? Putting on the table the question that because of the COVID situation and what happened, there has been an increase in cost of living that we have never seen, and why it is that the government haven't taken this into consideration when they meet and treat with their employees. Those things are fundamental. Do you as citizens, do you as workers have a right to a roof over your head? Yes, that is a fundamental right. Do you have a right to good health? Yes, that is a fundamental right. Do you have a right to be protected? Yes, that is a fundamental right. Do you have a right to go to work and ensure that the environment is safe and healthy? Yes, you have that right. Do you have a right to go to work and produce efficiently? Yes, you must do that as workers. And I want to say it too, because it is not just about bashing the government, but it's about speaking truth to what is happening in the context of our realities. There's a need for efficiency. There's a need for productivity all over Trinidad and Tobago and in the workplaces. And I'm calling on you today to take that on the table, to make that change that will be necessary to ensure that the efficiency and the productivity that is required to take the country to another level is accomplished, and it can be accomplished. I know there are some workers who are telling me, Barney said, why must I produce and work hard and the government do not care about me? You see, that is where the problem is. Herein lies the problem. And what is the problem? Is that we have been chained up. We have been made to think that the government must give out handouts, that we must get a government work, we must get a CPEP work, we must work 3 hours and get paid for 8 hours. No. You do not build a society so. And you see, those handouts give the government the feeling that they own you. The feeling, let me repeat it, that they own you. And therefore, you could change that. You could flip that record because you have the ability to so flip that record. But we sit down and we accept nonsense for governance. We sit down and accept the politicians saying all kinds of things. Look at Parliament. Are you satisfied with what happens in Parliament and the kind of conversations? Are we satisfied? Those are the questions that we have to ask ourselves, brothers and sisters. And that is why June 19 becomes so critical in making that change that I'm speaking about. Because, as I said, we cannot continue to go to Faizabad and just march, just say a lot of things, and then the next day is business as usual. Business as usual has put us in the place we are today because we accept things, and the politicians believe that we are 9-day wonders. Some of them say I'm 3. Those study, and Izet and them, those study the workers. They go march for 2 days and they go forget everything, and we'll be able to do what we want to do and get through with what we want to get through. Right? Because there is no commitment. And as I speak to you, globally and internationally, workers are fighting back. England, look at the nurses. Look at the workers who drive the trains, the doctors, the public servants. They are standing up and fighting back. Look at what is happening in France in terms of the pension. Look at what is happening for dock workers in the United States. There is this continuous fight for dignity, for bread, and for the right to be respected and to be treated with humility and to be treated with a respect and as human beings. We can no longer build a society when leaders believe that they could talk to you anyhow, anyway. When leaders believe they can disrespect you and disrespect our women folk. I don't want to know whether they're in the opposition. I don't want to know whether what race they belong to. That is not important. When you go down that particular road, we'll find ourselves in the situation that we are in now. And when you have a minister of education telling the population that if you believe in God, well then believe in we. What does that mean? What level of vanity and insensitivity is that? Those are the things that you have to look at when politicians begin to use the question of God as a mechanism to demonstrate that they have power, and they equate themselves to the divine master, the universal master. Well, then you know we're in dire straits in our society, and herein lies some of our problems, because some of them, when they get office, they bring themselves and craft themselves into what I want to call tin gods, and not recognizing that we all belong to this universe, and therefore, each and every one of us have a role to play. And when you disrespect that, you're disrespecting your society. And when you disrespect your society, you have all the problems that we are experiencing in Trinidad and Tobago. Finally, I want to put on records, brothers and sisters, Trinidad and Tobago. Our institution, it is falling apart very quickly. When you have an institution that is set up within our constitution to deal with workers' issues fairly and justly and with transparency, and you have members within that institutions who are former government ministers who are making statements that is biased, who are making statements that speaks to what the government want, who are threatening workers in terms of, if you don't accept what is offered, well then I have the authority to extend your collective bargaining period. We know Trinidad and Tobago, we have reached a place that we have to stand up collectively and to ensure that never happens. We must reach a place in Trinidad and Tobago when anybody in power or authority, I don't care what institution that they belong to, that they misuse and abuse their authority and power, there must be a price for that individual to be paid, to pay, whether it's collectively or individually. But we must be able as a society to come together and say, no, we're not going to accept that. We're not going to accept that. And therefore, we will make your life, all right, a mirror to other people who believe that because they have power, that they can do whatever they want with total disregard to man, women, child, and the elders. So comrades, June 19 will be a significant day. June 19th, all roads leads to Faizabad. And we want to take that opportunity, brothers and sisters. We really want to take that opportunity to start the conversation and to begin a new dawn for a better Trinidad and Tobago. where our women folks will be respected, where our youths will be respected, where we'll be able to collectively address all the issues that is confronting Trinidad and Tobago. And I want to make a point by ending. History has taught me, and a lot of people, you do not solve a problem by going to the same group of people or parties or institutions that created the very problem. Let me repeat it. You do not solve a problem by going back to the same parties, the same institutions, the same person who would have caused the very problem that you have found yourself in. It is only you can be the change. It is only you individually and collectively has the power to come together and make the changes that you want. Always keep that in your mind and don't allow fear to overcome you. Don't allow fear. And as I continue to say, and I will end by, as I normally do, and say, may the Divine Master, Universal Master, continue to bless us and guide us as we continue in this struggle. May we go back to our ancestral roots, our mothers and fathers, our ancestral mothers and fathers, for the guidance, for the protection, and for the wisdom and understanding that we need as we continue this just struggle for a better Trinidad and Tobago, for better wages for our government employees and all employees in Trinidad and Tobago, for a better working place, for respect for our women, for our children, for respect for our elders, and more importantly, we must demand the empowerment of the working class. We must understand as a people, running for a government job, I went through that. Yeah, you went to school. Hey, they want you to get a government job. They want you to go and work CPEP, right? But they never taught us the right to own something, to develop something, to be our own business makers. They never taught us that skills because our educational system was designed to make us believe that we are a production machinery or system for the employment for people who own capital, as opposed to educating us to understand that we too can own capital and we too within the communities can be the drivers and owners of business in our society. That is what we have to aim for, brothers and sisters. So, as I say, blessings always. And may the Divine Master continue to bless us. And may we not forget our ancestral mothers and fathers as we continue this pathway and this journey for fairness and justice and the right to live in Trinidad and Tobago with the dignity and the respect that each and every one of us deserve as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad is not for one group of people. Trinidad is for all of us. And you must remember, without workers, you cannot produce wealth. Let me repeat it, without workers, you cannot produce wealth, irrespective of what money you may have. Workers are the producers of wealth within any society, and therefore, when you deny them decent and living wages, you are committing a crime that you will live to regret at some point in time, because workers' eyes are going to open and they will begin to understand what we are saying in Natuc. So time out. Good night. Love you all. Trinidad and Tobago, we can do better. We can do better. We can do better. Collectively, we can do better. Blessings always. Good night, Trinidad and Tobago.
The workers of iniquity dig a pit for me. Now they're waiting for me to fall in. Trying to take my bread and butter with lies and propaganda. But they're fooling, they're only fooling. I will not be a